Glad you could join us. Now, Senior Minister Osafo Maafo has downplayed the office of the much-talked-about Special Prosecutor. Osafo Maafo, in an interview with Joy News' Lateef Idris, said the state can prosecute corrupt public officials even without the Special Prosecutor's office. He made the comments at the Silver Jubilee anniversary held at the Black Star Square yesterday.
What would you say, in your own assessment, would this anniversary impact on the country's democratic credential?
It will impact on the unity of the nation. We have gone through 4 republics, and the longest is the 4th republic. And this brings together all Ghanaians from all political persuasions to celebrate this Silver Jubilee. And I think it's a very, very important occasion for national recognition, for national unity, and to remind ourselves where we are coming from. There have been 5 military interventions, but we have had 25 years without military intervention, and we should congratulate ourselves for this stability. I believe that the president should continue to consult other political parties. The president should continue to get other opinions other than from his own political party.
You said continue. Has he been doing that?
Yes. He's one of the few presidents who have invited all political parties to the castle for meetings. He has invited all religious bodies to the castle for meetings. He should deepen it. It is important because we have one nation and we should not make it look like politics is dividing us. No, it is a very important symbol, and we should continue to celebrate this 4th republic because it is the most enduring republic that we have.
One of the points the president made, he gave credence to past presidents, past legislatures, but then he also mentioned the challenges facing the country, one of which is corruption. Now, the party's move to do away with the issue of corruption has to do with the setup of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which we're hearing is going to be up very soon. What is your own expectation of this special office?
I believe that we have put too much emphasis on the Special Prosecutor. People have been prosecuted and sentenced, ministers, and jailed in this country without a Special Prosecutor. And therefore, the laws are very clear. We need it. It will help. It will accelerate and facilitate things. But we cannot say that without the Special Prosecutor, we cannot prosecute crimes. I don't understand. We need it because it will facilitate matters. But we can still fight corruption with or without the Special Prosecutor.
Meanwhile, the board chair of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Peter McMenu, was also at yesterday's event, has been underscoring the relevance of commemorating the Silver Jubilee anniversary of the country's 4th republic. He also spoke to Lateef Idris.
I think that 25 years, a quarter of a century is such a long time, and it's a respectable year to celebrate. However, if the debate comes up.
What do you say about critics who say we have a lot of challenges to deal with and not come here and spend state resources to celebrate?
This is part of the challenges. If we don't celebrate our achievements and you downplay them, it can cause you major woes, I can tell you. So you look at it, look at the years gone by, review it, look at challenges where you have been able to succeed. Pat yourself on the shoulder. Nevertheless, look critically at the challenges and see how you are going to surmount them.
Now, board chairman of Ghana Cocoa Board, Hackman Osajimai, has defended the controversial cash for seats saga, saying it's an internationally accepted practice. Mr. Hackman Osajimai also lashed out at anti-corruption organizations who have been criticizing the government over the corruption allegations leveled against appointees of the administration.
How would you rate the current administration? I'm talking of the various corruption allegations that have been leveled against players in the Nanado administration.
Allegation there will always be, because some people are not, and they want to create confusion. The politics of Africa, and I know Africa like the back of my hand, It's always like that. People, I mean, just take this case about money for sitting near the president. Everywhere you go to any function, there's an inner circle, a middle circle, an outer circle. And depending upon how much you pay, you get closer there. When you go to the football field, there are certain wings which are more expensive than the popular stand. This is life. And it doesn't mean that there was anything untowardly. Maybe the modus, how it was organized, is the issue. But it's absolutely internationally accepted practice of event organization.
Paying to sit close to the president.
Not saying close, to wherever the center is. And in this case, the center happened to be where the president was. That's as simple as that. After that, a lot of activities have taken place where they are structured. Even when you go to see a Bohwai's place, they are structured. You pay 50, you sit here, you pay 25 TD, and that's it. That is life.
But anti-corruption organizations and civil society organizations have raised issues with that. They think that it breeds corruption.
The so-called anti-corruption organization, I personally don't buy. They don't do what is right. Sometimes they make comments which they don't even appreciate the importance. They just tag on to an issue, and I am prepared to debate anybody to say it was not corruption. It was something done, maybe because we are not used to it, but there was absolutely nothing untoward about it. And sometimes I am disappointed by the so-called anti-corruption organization. What they say? They say the anti-corruption organization, one of them became a special advisor to President Mahama after leading the anti-corruption. So where did he belong to?
Still tracking how this government has performed in its first 12 months, and the New Patriotic Party NPP manifesto, which saw them voted into power, was captioned "Change, an agenda for jobs." As the name implies, this government was endorsed because of the message of job creation they sold to Ghanaians. Another issue then opposition NPP brought to the limelight was education delivery, spearheaded by the Free Senior High School Promise. As we continue to analyze its performance after 12 months, we will be speaking to a member of parliament, part of a group whose job it is to make sure government does their job and keeps to the promises that they made to Ghanaians. But before we speak to our guests, we will take a look at some promises made by this government when it was in opposition, and we'll see if they were able to fulfill them or not. So those are some of the promises made by this government when in opposition, and we've seen those they've been able to fulfill, those they've not been able to fulfill. Now, we have been joined in the studio by a member of the Government Assurances Committee of Parliament, which is in charge of tracking promises made by government and ensuring that they are kept. Sam Jabanyete is member of Parliament for Tripone, and a member of that committee. He joins me in the studio. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for making time for us. Now, first of all, what is the work of the Government Assurances Committee?
Yeah, Government Assurance Committee is a committee that is for the Speaker of Parliament. Basically, what the Government Assurance Committee does is to pursue assurances, promises, and undertakings made by ministers of state and other government agencies. This is done as a way of checking or tracking governance and to make sure that the processes that are put in place and the resources are judiciously used and are also timely.
So it's not just the president, you look at ministers as well?
Yes, we look at ministers of state and even CEOs of other state MMDAs.
Okay.
Yes, and the issue is that once you make that on the floor of Parliament, it can be tracked.
Okay. Yes. Right. So, for instance, when the budget statement was read by the finance minister, there are issues in there that you've been looking at.
Exactly.
So, this afternoon, we want to look at employment, job creation, and a bit of education. What are some of the key issues the committee has been keeping an eye on?
Yes, the committee for the past 1 year now has not been really active in the sense of hitting government hard on some of the promises made, especially in the area of education and employment. Yes, because we felt that it was only fair to give a new government that has taken office, that has come into office, to give them at least 1 year to get settled and then to organize themselves. So for the past 1 year, we've only taken notice, and very soon, as we've come into 2018 now, we're going to take them on. And particularly in the area of education and job creation, MPP rode on the back of coming into power on the team Agenda for Change.
But change agenda for jobs?
Yeah, agenda for jobs. And clearly, in the 2017 budget, if you look at paragraph 887 on page 152 of the budget statement and economic policy of the government, they categorically stated the things they were going to put in place as a way of spurring job creation. And clearly, 1 year down the line, we have not seen any of such.
What are some of these things you saw, and what did you want to see by now?
Yes, for instance, they were very categorical in the budget that within the first 1 year, they were going to establish one district, one factory. And the essence of it was to create jobs at the rural cottage industries, to create cottage industries. And that was to prevent rural-urban migration and congestion in our cities, and also making judicious use of the local resources that we have at our disposal. They went ahead to talk of establishing a $1 million fund for each district assemblies. That we haven't seen. And the essence
for each constituency?
Yeah, for each constituency. And the essence we were made to believe was to enable the district assemblies take up economic activities that were key and relevant, and that would really be a bottom-up approach to development. That has not also happened. Let me again refer you.
Has it not happened totally? Because for 1 million one constituency, for instance, we know that stakeholder meetings were held across the country in 2017 to pick the views of people on what developmental projects they want to see happen.
Partly, yes, it is a process. So it started with that. But we have challenge with the initial statement and what is being said, what is being done now. What is being done now is that government is of the opinion to establish development authorities, which have been done, 3 of them. And these monies will be put in a pool. And that pool, there will be an administrative body that will ensure that these funds are disbursed. And clearly, you can see in the 2018 budget, The Ministry of Special Development Initiative alone, you saw how it came under attack with those huge sums. These are monies that will be used to procure vehicles, to set up, pay for rents for administrative. These are not the things that the people want. Who tells you that every constituency necessarily needs an ambulance? So give the money to the people. Let them design their own programs and know how best they can utilize the money.
But Mr. Jabayente,
yes,
stakeholder meetings were held across the country last year. Based on that, a number of projects were proposed. So it wouldn't be presumptuous to say that the people do not want ambulances, for instance?
The ambulances may not be the immediate needs of some districts. Some may need it urgently, some may not. So you can't make a blanket statement and provide it for, no, in development we don't do that.
Yes. But after what the ministry did last year, we cannot say, for instance, which districts need ambulances and which districts do not need ambulances. They were tasked to find that information. Based on that, they are proposing provision of ambulances.
The districts have their medium-term and long-term development plans, so they know what they want at a time. And besides, if you look at paragraph 882 of the 2017 budget, again on job creation, they were very specific to say that the integrated aluminum bauxite industry was something that was going to be a major catalyst to job creation. For the whole year, nothing has not been done, except to hear or to see that a whole regime of the vice president and his team traveled to China to go and bring $15 billion, which we are yet to see come through. But what preparations have been put on the ground to let this materialize, we have no idea.
Now, on a number of these issues that you have raised, you yourself have mentioned that this government is 1 year old, and because of that, in the course of the year, it was increasingly difficult to hold them to book because they are very young governments. Isn't it now that we should be looking through to see what would happen in the coming year?
Yes, we as a committee, we have carried out all these promises and assurances being made by ministers and governments and vice president or whoever has the mandate to do so. We have carried out, we have a timeline program that very soon we'll be hauling them to. And let me make it clear to your listeners or viewers. The Government Assurance Committee, in fact, is like a policeman of the ministers, because it is supposed to monitor and then make sure that whatever. So it is both financial and governance. It looks at how the governance system, administratively, things are being done, and also how the judicious use of our resources are being made, expended over a period of time. Because if you say you want to construct a school structure in 2017 to cater for people's maybe between the ages of 6 and 8 who cannot walk to maybe distant communities like 10 kilometers away in the communities, and you don't do it, by the time you would have finished putting up the project, it would have outlived probably its usefulness at that particular instance and trying to create a job. So we are not just to monitor and to ensure that these things are done, but the timeliness of it is what also is very critical, and we are looking at that. So very soon we're going to come out. And it is when we meet, all the sittings will be made public. People will have the opportunity to ask questions. The general public will have the opportunity to also make input.
It's well and good. The point I'm driving at is that that's mere admission that you were unable to do it in the past year because the government was young. It shows that, yes, we must give this government some more time.
No.
If we want to see any real dividend or some of the promises they made.
The budgets are timeline bound. Whatever we voted for in 2017 is expended. So you don't have the luxury of time, or you don't have any other excuse for you to say that I'm still young. What was voted for you? You have to account for it. What did you use it for? So that question should not arise.
If that is the case, Mr. Jabayente, then your committee should also be held, because these are things that you should have held government on, you should have tracked government on. It's your job as a government assurances committee.
Yes, our mandate is a 4-year mandate. And the first year, we, in our first meeting in Volta region to do a workshop, we made it clear that we're going to use that period to carry spell out the promises, possibly visit or make follow-ups to look at stages of completion of all the various programs, then we can invite those concerned to ask questions. Why you say you are going to do A, B, C, D? Why is that not done? What have been your challenges? So in effect, it is not also to witch hunt, but also to, as a corrective measure, you get to know why certain things were not able to be implemented, and then you proffer solutions so that in the next coming budget or in the next decision that is to be made, those factors will have been taken into account, and then you do not.
Right. On the point of job creation, finally, best persons in government would argue that a lot was done. You know, one of the key statements made by Dr. Bawumia when he was now vice president, when he was vice presidential candidate, was that he wants to build a business-friendly economy. In that light, you can say the launch of the digital addressing system, the launch of the paperless port system, the reduction of some taxes, some key policies which would generally make it easier for businesses to operate were put in place in 2017.
You and I know. Is it practical? Is it practicable? We see and we hear. We listen to people. I'm not sure that is reflective enough. Taxes, reduction in taxes. What aspects or what components of the tax regime that has been reduced? You know, and the paperless system, it's come with a whole lot of problems. Although they are straightening out.
It's also gotten government a lot of revenue. I mean, revenue increased by about 53% in the space of a week.
That is even very, very debatable. As at the time Bawumia the vice president made that statement, and the issues that came around that, I cannot stand here. The two of us cannot agree to the point that he really revenues increased by 52%.
You can contest them with your facts. Yes. If you have a different set of facts, you can present them.
Yeah, you know, because people came up to argue, to say that no, within that period for which he arrived at that figure was incorrect, and they gave the analysis. So I'm not sure. You know, but you see, what we need to understand, we started this whole show. The previous government started this whole show of the paperless system. So the current government just came to continue. So, and governance is a continuum, and we will always acknowledge and admonish them that you should give recognition to programs that have been undertaken by past governments, and you build on it. After all, governance is a continuum.
Speaking of governance being a continuum, whenever I ask this question of members of the minority, I get the same answer you just gave me. Like, it was started by the NDC government. But I don't know if I'll get a different one this time around. What did you see in 2017 that you'd like to laud government on and you want to see more of in 2018? That's my final question.
Sure. Government did well in 2017 in some areas, especially fighting this galamsey and the destruction of the forest. I think, let me commend the media also. You did a lot to support government, and largely it's been brought to some level of control, under control now. I have traveled recently to the Western region and the Ashanti region, and I can see the level of degradation has gone down. The rivers and the streams, the water is changing, and I think that is good. Another area I would like to commend the MPP administration has been the government's political will to make sure that at least food is made available to the people of Ghana. It's quite encouraging. This planting for food, although it has had a lot of backlash, it has had a lot of teething problems, we think the best way, and coming from speaking as a deputy ranking on the Agri Committee, I will urge that more resources rather should be, because if you look at the Maputo Declaration and all the conventions to which we have assigned to, at least they all talk about not setting aside 10% of our budget in agriculture. We are nowhere near there. This year, I think it's even the total contribution to the agri sector is 0.98%, a shortfall of last year, which was about 1.22%. But the commitment is there, and we will ask that commitment also goes with what will make it practicable.
Okay.
You understand? So we will urge them.
More money should be put
they should put in more money.
Okay.
And we believe that with that, when Ghanaians have enough food to eat, whatever is left, we can process that, we can export that, and that is where we can really sustain the dollar or the foreign currency that we have.
Thank you very much, Samuel Japanyete. He's Member of Parliament for Tripoli, also a member of Government Assurances Committee and Vice Chair of the Agric and Cocoa Affairs Committee of Parliament. You're still watching Joe News today. My name is Daniel Daze. Stories we've done so far, we've told you the view of Osafo Maafo about the Office of Special Prosecutor. He believes it is not the only panacea to corruption. Now stay with us because we'll be visiting the decongestion exercise currently ongoing, being spearheaded by the AMA Mayor, the Accra Mayor, Mohammed Ejaisoa. He has arrested 2 officials on the spot this morning for inhibiting the exercise. Thanks for staying with us. Now, the Mayor of Accra, Mohammed Ejaisoa, has this morning fired 2 task force members of the decongestion exercise for not enforcing bylaws. This is part of the ongoing decongestion exercise, which Mohammed Ejaisoa is himself spearheading this morning. Nancy MFA Juadosi is with the Mayor and his team and has joined us on the line to give us more details. MFA, first of all, where are you now?
Right, so Daniel, we moved from the Central Business District, which is Accra, and we are currently at Circle. That's where we are right now. The team just dispatched itself. We just ended the tour through the city of Accra today. And
what did you observe in the city of Accra and at Circle?
Right, so right from Accra, I would describe the decongestion as power-packed, led by the mayor himself, followed by his task force. They took things from people who were selling on the pedestrian walkway, so from tables, chairs, to the goods that they were selling. All these items were seized from the traders who were selling by the street. And so we started from Accra, but then at Accra, I observed that the people were quite reluctant. And so instead of them running away or not even showing up at all at the venue, they were there as they promised last week. They were there, just as they said they were obeying the Operation Red Line that was used by the former mayor of Accra, Okovandapoi. And so they were doing what was right. And so the mayor couldn't have anything to say. All he could say was that they were going to bring a new line, which is going to be called the Yellow Line at Accra. It's going to be introduced in Accra.
Okay, so the mayor was unable to evict these people who were sitting behind the red lines?
No, he was unable to sack those who were sitting within the red line.
Okay.
All he could say was that we were going to bring another line, which is called the Yellow Line, because according to him, the traders have drawn another red line, which looks similar to that was done by the former mayor of Accra. And so we are all expecting operation. Don't cross the Yellow Line now.
So tell us about the sacking of these 2 task force members.
So while we were walking through Accra, the mayor saw 2 task force boys that were standing in front of some shops and across the street, just watching what was going on. And people were selling their wares on the street of where they were standing. And so the mayor called for them, the 2 individuals, and asked them what they were doing. And then they said they were asked to stand here and enforce the law. And the mayor said, for not enforcing the law, you are fired. Don't come to work today. So that was what actually happened with the 2 gentlemen that were fired today at Accra.
Right. Thank you very much, MFA Juadosi, for that report. Let's watch and enjoy news today. Let's take you to the Ashanti region, where more than 20 residents of Bokrom in the capital Kumasi have reportedly been attacked in the last 6 months. They say they are living in fear as attacks increase in the community. The situation became worrying during the Christmas season when gunmen attacked some residents. The recent attack happened on Thursday when a family was robbed at gunpoint. Nana Sensuminta filed the next report.
Almost every house within the community has been, one way or the other, attacked at gunpoint. What happens is that they kidnap your child when you don't have what they want. The recent attack happened on Thursday when a family was robbed at gunpoint. Some of the victims recount their ordeal to Joy News.
Around 9 p.m. when we came back from office, and if you look at it, the person is somebody who has been monitoring us. He knows the time we get into the house and all those things. So you see, and it's more like we are living with kidnappers within the community that we live in at Bukrom Estate, Eli, and it's a serious thing. I mean, our life are really at stake. You don't know when somebody will shoot you. You see, if we had not even surrendered the very evening they came, and we struggled with them, by now, I mean, myself and family would have been no more.
You no more feel safe here at Bukrom Estate. I live close to K-Farm Hospital. There are a lot of people around, but every house is walled and no one is close enough to see what is happening within your compound. So frankly, from now, I felt very insecure where I live. When I'm coming home, I have to call neighbors to meet me sometimes because I don't know what I'll come to meet at home. And because they are able to jump into my compound, the situation becomes more frightening because you could just get home and notice someone is really in your house even before you enter. So he knows where to pass to hide from you. So it becomes very unsafe.
Residents explain they have lost confidence in the police because almost all the robbery cases reported have yielded futile results.
In fact, for the little that I've known, nobody, I mean, none of those whose houses have been burgled went to the police station and anything came out of it. So definitely when you suffer and then you report to the police, nothing comes out of it. So there's no need.
Some of the residents have resorted to community watchdogs and private security to protect lives and property. The victims want police visibility intensified in the community to address the situation.
If the whole community could come together and organize this watchdog committee thing, it will be the best. And I also wish the police, this visibility thing they talk about, I mean, the police, they are not visible in Bukrom Estate. I don't see them anywhere. The only place I see them is when I pass by their police post. If they are supposed to be visible, once in a while we need to see them come around. If not in their vehicles, I hear they've been given motorbikes. Once in a while they go around these areas and see what is going on. And that will go a long way to help.
Reporting for Joy News, Nana Asensu Mensah.